Dumb idiots.
And welcome to the Dumb Idiot Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the upcoming Ohio State-Michigan game.
Yeah, the dumb idiots talking about the Ohio State University and the other one.
Yep, that team up north.
Yeah.
I'm your boy, Alex Gnepper.
I am the Burger Ryan Burger.
And he is...
I'm Joe Chamberlain.
The Miller Lite Mauler. Joe Chamberlain.
I think of all of us, he's got most of like that athlete name. I feel like Joe Chamberlain, like Joe Chamberlain with the tackle.
Yeah, Ryan Burger would be the punter for sure.
Yeah, Matthew Gnepper. This just doesn't sound like a...
That's the guy stealing the secrets on the sidelines.
Yeah, that's the guy. That's the Cocker Stallions. That's him.
Oh, it's a documentary. I can see it.
Yeah, I'm that nerd. You guys are going to quickly find out I am that nerd. I'm going to have all the stats and everything. I'm the guy. I'm the weirdo who devotes his life to these 19 and 20-year-old kids who dictate my happiness.
But there's nothing weird about it.
There's nothing weird about it. I'm like, we're going into the Ohio State-Michigan game, and my happiness is dependent on these 19, 20, 21-year-olds.
These young, athletic, these young, athletic, supple men trying to tackle each other.
And the older I get, the weirder that concept is. It's like, my happiness is dependent on them. My fucking, it's going to be a cold, long winter if Ohio State can't beat Michigan.
Yeah.
And it's like, because these athletes couldn't get the job done, while I'm sitting on the couch.
Yeah. Make the tackle, asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, your 40-yard dash is like 6.8.
Yeah.
And it stopped at the 30 because you gave up.
Yeah, I was like,
that with my ankle and like,
I'm not going 40.
FMLA now, it's rough. But yeah, we're going to be talking a little ball, Ohio State, Michigan. It's a big game coming up. Even when one team is 6-5 and the other one is 10-1, it's hard to understand how big of a game this is. And most times you have a team that's struggling to become 500, barely making a bowl game versus a team with national title aspirations. Usually it's a team that is 10-1 that has a bullseye on its back. They're the team that is being the hunted. But with Michigan coming to town, fresh off a national title, fresh off of 3 straight wins in the rivalry, they're the hunted. And they're also 6-5. It's kind of a strange dynamic. Usually in this kind of lopsided pre-game record, this is one of those throw the records out. That's an old cliche for it.
Yeah, I think that is true. I mean, anytime there's been years in the past where Ohio State seems way better than Michigan, and they play them tough every time. So
yeah, it reminds me of the 2013 edition of the game when I think Michigan needed a 2-point conversion to win it, and it got intercepted by the player's name. I can't think of it right now, but Ohio State intercepted the ball, won the game 42-41. Wild. And Michigan was like barely struggling to make a bowl game. And that gets us, you just throw the records out. The spread right now is Ohio State's favored by 20.5.
Jesus.
If you put $10 on Michigan, you would win $100 if they won that game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I couldn't bring myself to bet on Michigan, but I don't think that's a terrible bet. I mean,
remember how I told you about my insurance policy? So a couple episodes back, I was talking about how I have insurance policy. I usually do it for the Browns. And if my team loses, I still get money.
Yeah.
I put $30 on Michigan. And somehow I'll get $400 if Michigan wins. So that's kind of it's an insurance policy. That I do not want that money. In fact, I think that win is worth more than $400 to me. But if Michigan does do the unthinkable, I'll be $400 richer. I hope I don't get that money though.
Man, yeah, it's quite a psychological game.
Yeah, this may make me a bad Ohio State fan, but this is something that I do. I don't gamble for fun. I gamble as
well. Luckily for you, Buckeye fans are always very calm and
rational people.
Yeah, so don't worry. I'm sure no one will begrudge you for that.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
I hate you. I hate everything you stand for.
I saw you like, that is a terrible thing. You gotta have confidence in your team. I do have confidence in the team, but I do have the insurance policy.
Well, my thing is like, if you're like, it's almost like taking like an insurance policy out on your mom. and like you don't want anything bad to happen to her.
Mhm.
But then the first time like your dad calls and you look and you're like,
No.
Mom? you're like, I don't want it to happen, but if it's gonna happen anyway,
Right.
I'm glad I got the money.
No, you know what? Honestly, that's not a bad comparison because I mean, you're gonna be sad either way.
Yeah.
Might as well be sad with some money.
Right. And it was like
Mhm.
$30, like had like to use.
Yeah.
It was already in the account. I'm like, I'm going to do with this. Fortunately, I don't win my bets. So
luckily, I'm a bad.
All right,
gambler.
lead with that. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
yeah, exactly. I'm a bad gambler. And
I think another good one is over under 3.5 beers drank before kickoff.
Oh, dude, I'm going way over.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do a power hour to start the day,
There you go.
but I don't know. Like, so the game starts at noon.
yep. 12:15 usually. Fox does that stupid thing.
Yeah, they
Noon.
say noon and then
And
it
then-
takes them forever to get
Yeah, they got the longest pregame in the biz.
Well, so this year, like, it kind of makes sense to me that it's not like a primetime game because the stakes aren't as high. I mean, it is for Ohio State, but Michigan, they're just trying to play spoiler. But do you guys like it when it's a late game, or do you actually prefer when it's earlier? Because I'm actually kind of like switching to where I like it when it's earlier in the day.
I'm the same way. I think we mentioned this in our previous episode where like these noon games are kind of, I'm starting to like them. They're kind of getting to me like, okay, yeah, this is nice.
Yeah, get it out of the way.
Get it out of the
Especially for Ohio State, Michigan.
The anxiety would be too high.
I always love between Ohio and Michigan. I think everyone wants a morning beer.
Yeah.
And I just think anything that promotes all day drinking, I'm a fan of.
It's going to be, and it would be in a more less drinking related thing. It would be 30 degrees at noon. It would be like 15 at night.
Yeah,
That makes a big difference. You know what I mean? It's 30 degrees and sunny versus 15 degrees and not sunny
Right.
at night. No, the fans would be a lot more drunk and raucous, you know? And what gets you warmer than a nice beer and jumping up and down and being loud, you know?
Yeah.
And regardless of the time, I hope everybody is loud and raucous and jumping up and down and using that energy. Cause I think that home field could be a big advantage,
Yeah.
especially cause, Michigan on the road versus at home. I think there's a stark difference. Like they lost at Washington, lost at Illinois, and they lost at Indiana. And they failed to score more than 17 points in any of those games. In fact, I think they're averaging 10 points a game on the road.
Yeah.
And they're not playing against the best defenses in the conference. You know, like Indiana or Illinois and Washington are not known as defensive juggernauts, but once that offense is on the road, I feel like they just get a little rattled, and hopefully that works for Ohio State's favor.
Yeah, I do think the Ohio State defense has been stepping up big
Mhm.
time ever since the Oregon loss. So
Yeah, they're slow starters. I think I feel like they use that first like couple of drives to kind of feel out the opponent.
mm,
And then like we saw against Indiana, like, okay, we know what Indiana's going to do. We're going to sit in the house now. We know they can't protect their quarterback. First couple of drives, we're just kind of seeing like, let's see, let's feel them out. Let's kind of get an idea of what they plan on doing. Okay, they're running a pass happy attack. We're going to sit in the fucking house now.
yeah.
We know their tendencies. And I think Ohio State's done really well with their in-game adjustments. In fact, Ohio State has the best third quarter team in college football. I think they've outscored their opponents like 100-0. Like, and that's not even a joke. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's like the stats.
Yeah.
They come out of that locker room with the adjustments and like amped up. Problem is they go in the locker room with like 14 points on the board.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, oh, come on. It's a slow start. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I think they're just kind of feeling them out.
It's a
Both
good-
offense and defense.
It's a good sign of coaching when you can make adjustments at the half and
Mm-hmm.
be that much better. I mean,
And they're running much more like a methodical, slower paced offense than usual. I think in the past, Ohio State has been home run hitter. You know, like we're going to try to just get that deep ball. We're going to try to score quick. And I wonder if it's because it's such a longer season now, because you have like the playoff coming up,
yeah.
that like, okay, if we run more plays, we risk more chances of getting injured.
Mhm.
And so we're going to try to slow the game down a little bit, take advantage of the fact that the clock doesn't stop on first downs anymore. Like, cause like they changed that rule a couple of years ago, and we're going to slow this game down and work it at our pace. But I do wonder in a game against Michigan if that turbo drive is still on the table. Like if they can still, okay, our tendency is to go slow, methodical, let's open it up. Let's go deep. Let's go fast and quick and like kind of just completely change our tendencies and catch Michigan off guard.
Yeah, they probably want to try to really pour it on. I mean, I got to imagine they want to try to score as much, make as big of a statement as possible.
And the spread is, like I said, it's 20.5. And I think Vegas understands that mentality that this is okay, even if Ohio State's up by a couple of touchdowns late, they're going to try to score another one. Just like they did against Coach Cignetti last week against Indiana.
Yep.
Travion Harrison went down. Brian Dave's like, dude. We're trying to like, fuck this team. We're going to try to keep scoring.
Run it up.
It was a funny sequence, too, because like I was watching with my brother, and he had Ohio State covering by X amount. He was cheering. Travion Harrison's about going to the touchdown, and he slides down at the 1 yard line. He's like, no! I was just giggling and laughing. I was like,
run it up.
There's nothing more fun than rooting against someone else's bets. I don't know what it is. But watching someone lose money. And like, okay, as long as my team's winning, I'm happy. You know, but if they're losing money, like, okay, that's funny.
Good.
And then I scored and he covered and we're all happy. But it's still funny to see that despair of like, fuck, my bet.
I would have had it.
So with all of this going on with the game this week, you seem to be pretty well read up on everything, even like what Michigan is on the road, all that shit.
Yeah.
So your expert analysis, do you have a score? Do you have yards for
yards?
Yeah. How many penalties? Like, what all do you predict?
I think towards the end I'll probably give my score prediction, but I can see like I'm gonna narrow to like the strengths and weaknesses right now, and then I'm gonna give my score towards the end. And I think Michigan's strength is their defensive line versus Ohio State's interior offensive line. Ohio State, they had to reshuffle their offensive line a couple of times. It was rough against Nebraska. They reshuffled it for Penn State, looked way better. Then they lose their starting center, and they had to reshuffle it just in time for Indiana. But that interior defensive line, you still got backups playing, or guys who were backups against Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. Names are kind of similar, but Grant and Graham. That's kind of confusing, but yeah. And I think if they get enough pressure, it could be a lower scoring game. Problem is, on the flip side, I don't know if they have a roadmap to get more than 20 points. Yeah. Now, I could be wrong, but Michigan, they want to run the ball, but they're not that great at running the ball. They also have a weak offensive line. And if they're bread and butter, we're going to run the ball 40 times to try to get out with W, I don't know if that's a winning formula.
Yeah, and I don't know if they have a strong enough passing attack.
Their passing attack is a major weakness, and their starting tight end, who is their leading receiver, he's questionable with a shoulder injury. And I almost wonder if him playing actually hurts Michigan. And it sounds ironic, it's their best player. But their quarterback likes to force feed him the ball. And you're going to have Caleb Downs covering him, and he's a dynamic playmaker. And I feel like if this is enough for him to grab that ball, we've seen what he did against Indiana on that punt return.
Yeah.
I could see him housing one or two. And that's just because he's a guy that's going to be glued on to Colston Loveland. He's shut down Penn State's tight end pretty well. And Penn State has more weapons on the outside than Michigan does. And if Penn State couldn't throw the ball really well against Ohio State, I don't see how Michigan can.
Yeah, that's where like I feel like Ohio State's biggest weakness on defense, in my opinion, is the secondary. So
especially Igmanosin with those pass interferences.
Yeah.
He leads all of college football with pass interferences.
That's rough.
I think he's at 8. He had like 3 of them against Indiana.
Yeah.
And it was like the only reason Indiana scored was because pass interference in the end zone, you get the ball at the 2 yard line, and they scored twice because of that.
Yeah.
So, but Denzel Burke, he was a weakness kind of early on in the year. Didn't hear his name once against Indiana. And if you don't hear a cornerback's name, that's usually a really good sign. But yeah, you got that going on. I think Michigan is going to try to do all they can to stop Ohio State's run game. I think, like I said, that's kind of like Michigan's strength is like up front. But I do wonder if like Will Howard could pull that ball and run. And like kind of like, so that's kind of a tendency breaker for Ohio State. Ohio State's been running that read option, but the running backs have been keeping it more often than not. I think Will Howard, if he keeps that ball and runs, he could get 40, 50 yards. Like game total.
Yeah.
And that could be a big key.
And I'm sure the people want to know, will you admit now that Will Howard is a good quarterback?
Well, that was a really bad take. So it was like first half against Akron, and I'm like, Will Howard ain't it. You know, if I learned anything in life, do not tweet during games. Do not tweet the first half of the first game of the season.
Yeah.
Because it does not age well at all.
That's okay. I had a random troll account one time dig up my tweets of where when LeBron James was in Miami, I said, fuck LeBron. Like, he sucks. I'm glad they lost to the Spurs. Spurs are better. Something like that. And then like a few years later when he's in
4 years
Cleveland,
later.
I'm like, LeBron James is a god. Like, because and they like just retweeted both of them. And I was like, touche. I mean, you caught me. I liked him when he was in Cleveland. I didn't like him when he wasn't.
That's crazy that you liked a player who's really good and is playing on your team.
Right.
Right.
What? Yep. Got me. I'm an asshole.
Yeah, can you imagine being like a Colts fan back in the day and be like, fuck Peyton Manning.
Right.
I don't want him anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Not Tom Brady. It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But we're getting off topic. I want to stay on Ohio State, Michigan,
Yeah.
because you were talking about the one thing I don't know. Well, there's actually a lot I don't know. College football is so hard for me to watch.
I love college football. So I've actually been watching way more college football this year than NFL. Like, I have no clue what's going on in the
Well,
NFL.
it's easy when the Browns only have 3 fucking wins.
It opens my Sunday up. Right? It really does. Like, a couple of weeks ago, they were playing at like 1 o'clock, and I'm mowing the lawn, barely listening to them, and then I take a nap and I wake up. Oh, the Browns fucking lost. They're tied 14-14 before my nap.
Yeah. Good thing I didn't watch
It's
it.
very, it's not stressful. It's not like last year. Last year, I was like locked in the Browns.
Yeah.
But no, there was the thing I wanted to ask about Michigan, because I know that on paper, the Browns, we're talking too much.
Yeah.
Could the Browns beat Michigan? I think so.
Depends on if we have a Watson out there or not.
Which Jameis shows up.
Yeah.
No, put Watson's injured.
Yeah, Watson's in there.
But no, so Michigan's defense,
Hmm.
I know that, like I said, we have more talent than them, but I've read that they have like 3 guys on their defense that are like first round projecting type people.
Yeah.
And I know one of them's a corner.
Yeah.
And then I think, do they have 2 on the defensive line?
Yep. The Mason Graham and
Yeah. So between them 3, do you think like their corner can kind of shadow our number 1 and then kind of take out that freshman?
Jeremiah. Well,
Yeah.
the thing with their corner is he hasn't played since Illinois. And that's like early October. He's been out for the year with getting ready for the NFL draftitis.
Okay, see, I knew he was hurt. I didn't know he wasn't ever coming back.
Yeah, I don't know. He's the
Well,
coach.
he probably seen the record and said, fuck this.
I think that's what happened.
So is he not playing in the?
I don't know if he is playing. He hasn't played in like 2 months. and
Oh, okay.
He kind of took plays off when he was playing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it'd help his draft stock to play. And Jeremiah Smith is that dog.
Well, and Ohio State, I feel like they're loaded
They're
at
loaded.
receiver. I mean,
Jeremiah barely did anything against Indiana, and Ohio State won by 20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Emeka Abuko just came out.
yeah.
Carnell Tate,
Tate
2
is-
big catches
Yeah.
back to back. It's just, they're so loaded. And then Ohio State, like next year, they're going to be just as good at wide receiver. Brandon Ennis is going to step up. Carnell Tate's going to be a year older. Jeremiah Smith, a year older. Like, it's just this team. As long as Brian Hartline, their wide receiver coach, is there, I think they're going to do really well at wide receiver.
wide receiver. You.
Problem is, he's doing too well, and other teams want to poach him, like
Yeah.
offensive coordinator job, or maybe a head coach at like a MAC school.
Mhm.
But yeah, like with these draft picks, yeah, they're good, but they also have so many other holes on defense that 3 guys, even if Will Johnson plays, it's just hard for, like, if you could take a corner out of the game just by not throwing to the wide receiver, you know what I mean? You can take defensive line out of the game by doing quick hitters, you know, to the outside.
Mhm.
So, or outside runs, which I hope Ohio State tries to do some more outside runs just to negate their talent, discrepancy.
Hmm.
That's a hard word to say in the inside. And, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Now, Michigan on offense, I think their way to get chunk plays would be to try to force the ball downfield towards Igmanosin and have draw some penalties.
Right.
So, and that would be what Colston Loveland, or like I said, I think he's going to be blanketed by Caleb Downs. I don't want a receiver. They got Samaj Morgan, who's got potential, but I don't even know if he has like 200 yards in the season. He's just a big potential guy.
Michigan might be at a disadvantage because they won't know the plays this year.
I think that's a big thing.
Might hurt them.
Yeah, they lost a line. He might be the losing Connor Stallions.
Connor Stallions fucking voguing on the side of the...
Yeah, not nerding out and stealing signs. And I know in the past in Michigan, like Ohio State Michigan games were always close at halftime, and then they came out the second half and Michigan just dominated. And I do wonder how much of that is part of sign stealing, but that's getting into the land of excuses, and we're living right now. We're not living excuses.
Yeah.
But
only looking forward.
If Ohio State does lose the game,
that's a big,
suicide watch.
Dude, Ryan Day, he said over the week that losing to Michigan is one of the hardest moments of his life.
Yeah.
Ryan Day, dad committed suicide when he was 9 years old.
Yeah.
And he compared losing to Michigan 3 times to that. Ohio State fans fucking suck, dude.
Yeah.
Like, we suck.
Yeah.
Like, you don't think it's Michigan. Michigan isn't the ones driving this way. It's Ohio State fans. And it's like, it's unacceptable. Fire Ryan Day.
Yeah.
I think he's a good dude. I don't know. Like,
it's insane pressure. And I mean, he's been a solid coach. I mean, we were talking about before, like all his losses that they've all been very close against top teams. I mean,
and just bad breaks. Like, okay, Marvin Harrison targeted out. They didn't even, they threw the flag, reviewed it, said there wasn't a flag. I think that's questionable. That was against Georgia. And, that's the Marvin Harrison, right? Or did I say Jeremiah? I get them mixed up sometimes.
You said Marvin.
You got this.
Okay, yeah. So like, and then Ohio State still has a chance to win. They drive to the 30. Kicker misses a field goal by a mile. Shit haunted me, man.
Yeah.
Right as fucking clock ticked.
I know. It was supposed to be all joyous for me. I was like, Buckeye missed it.
And I'm pretty confident Ohio State would have beat TCU in the championship game. Years before that, against Clemson, people always say that was one of the worst rough games of all time. It was like Clemson caught a ball, tucked it, took a couple steps, fumble it, Ohio State picks it up, runs it back for a touchdown. After a long ass review, overturn, incomplete pass, Clemson wins that game.
Yeah.
And there's just breaks after breaks after breaks for Clemson.
Oh, dude, I remember that. So, I remember that game because that was like one of the first games we got to watch Trevor Lawrence play.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and like within like the first half, I was like, first of all, this guy sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what they were hyping him up for. And then I don't remember who it was. Someone from Ohio State got like ejected from the game.
Targeted him. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they waited and like Trevor was like, oh, my head. I can't possibly get back in the game.
Laying on the, he's rolling down. That flag is thrown, picked back up.
Yeah.
Fine. And it was like the most bullshit targeting call of all time.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember that.
That's getting the land of excuses again. But like I said, Ryan Day has been super competitive every game. He just hasn't finished.
Yeah, I'll say that about him too. Is like I always see the stats are like, oh, he's like 1-6 against top 5 teams or whatever. It's like, oh, you mean like he isn't like beating the top 5 teams every time he plays them? Like that's not what it is.
Yeah, that's like. I mean, you could easily end up in Nebraska land, Michigan land now. Like,
in what world do they just think like, oh yeah, when you play one of the top 3-4 teams in the country, you're supposed to win all of them.
Right.
If you were, then there'd be no reason to play the games.
Yeah.
Like there's literally, you can't make Ohio State fans happy is what I've noticed. Cause like we make the playoffs almost every time. And that was when there was only 4 teams.
Yeah.
And it's like, and now you expand it.
Yeah.
It's like,
so they should, they'll probably make
we're going to
every
be in it
time.
damn near every year.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you're fucking at the dance, you have a chance, you know?
Right.
So just shut up. Just enjoy the fact that we're not like Ohio University or Toledo.
Yeah. Be glad you don't have Brian Kelly saying, I want to thank my family. I mean, that we lose all these games.
Yeah. Like, they lost their top recruit to Michigan.
Yeah. Like, fuck that shit.
But yeah, it's crazy. Like there's good head coaches just some fucking growing trees. I mean, Kalen DeBoer is about as clear of a fucking successor for Nick Saban. You know, he just got done going to the national championship with Washington. And that's not easy. Going to the national title game with Washington.
Right.
Went to Alabama. A lot of Saban's dudes are there, loaded with 5 stars. Lost 24-3 to 6-6 Oklahoma.
Right.
Like that is.
Yeah.
Like,
only scored 3 on Oklahoma.
Yeah. And Oklahoma was trash all year.
Yeah.
And that's a possibility for Ohio State if they move on from Ryan Day.
Right.
To go from Jim Tressel to Urban Meyer to Ryan Day and being pissed off. Like, come on, guys. There's a reason we have a bad rep. Jim Harbaugh was 0-5 against Michigan before he started winning games.
Exactly.
And it took the biggest cheating scandal in the history of the sport
For him to get up over that.
Dude, and I don't know like the exact stats, but I remember like their last year, Michigan had like 37 seniors or some goofy shit like that.
Yeah.
The COVID rules.
Yeah.
So like they just had like a goofy team where they had like their team was like older than every other team.
Mm-hmm.
They had all these players that were, they're already good. They've been playing with each other. And it's just like,
They have families. They have mortgages.
yeah.
Basically.
And it was just like, so Ohio State lost to that by 6 on the road.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, Ryan Day sucks. And I'm just like, I'm not even like really that big of a Ryan Day fan just because I'm like, I think when you have as much talent as we do, I think like when we played Akron, I was like, I remember watching the first half of that game and I was like, shouldn't it be like 35-0 by now?
You probably tweet out, well, Howard's just not that guy.
I probably did, or I just thought it. But yeah, I just like, I don't love him, but I also acknowledge the fact that if we fire him right now, who's going to step in and for a fact is going to do better than him?
Exactly.
Only Urban Meyer, but you got to let him grope some ladies at the bar.
And kick his kickers.
Yeah. I don't think Urban Meyer would do well in this new age of college football where players could transfer.
Yeah,
He
no.
was a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Players would leave right away. Like,
Yeah, no, that's a great point, actually, because now with how easily kid could transfer, he probably wouldn't.
And
do
what I
well.
think Ryan Day is kind of like players love Ryan Day. He stresses mental health and he's just like really empowering of his players.
Yeah.
And yes, I guess we're not as intense and strong. We're not a tough football team like some years, I guess, because of it. But if you had like someone like Urban Meyer or even Nick Saban towards the end, like there's a reason why Nick Saban is not coaching anymore.
Right.
And it's because it's hard to be a dick in college sports and still win. Look at Tom Izzo.
Yeah.
He hates it now. He was a fucking asshole. He was winning, and now players can transfer after like not getting enough playing time.
Yeah.
And I think as a coach, you got to punish your players for not doing well. But there's a fine line now, and that line's getting finer and finer.
Yeah.
And now they're getting paid millions of dollars with a sense of entitlement.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I was going to say. I don't necessarily think it's so much as like, oh, I can just transfer. I do think, though, if you're at Ohio State, like, if you're at Ohio State, no matter what, like, if you're a starter and people know your name, you're going to ball out. And then now there's literally no incentive for you to stay because, like you said, you can transfer and you can still make NIL money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so I can just go wherever the most money is. So it really is a job now. It's like they all have LinkedIns, but it's just kind of like, I'm a receiver at Ohio State. Anyone want to like give me more money?
Yeah.
And there's no contracts either. Like Quinn Ewers, he's the quarterback for Texas. He went to Ohio State, got paid $1 million, maybe even more, north of $1 million, and he transferred before he even played.
Yep.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, they paid him money to sit on the bench and develop.
Yeah.
Like, you're welcome, Texas. Yeah. But, yeah, back to the game. I think the way I see it playing out is I can see Ohio State fans being really pissed off at halftime when it's only 14-6. But, because I think that's how almost every Ohio State game has been. Just low scoring at the half. Ohio State's barely scoring. But I think, like I said, they're just feeling them out, punching them, feeling them out. Final score, I think Ohio State pulls away third quarter. I just think the coaching advantage and the players and the talent just overpowers them. I got 34-16. Michigan covers, Ohio State wins. And I think, cause that'd be like a 18-point cover or something like that. Yeah. So.
You want me to give a prediction?
Yes. What's your prediction?
I'm going to go Ohio State over Michigan. I think Ohio State's really going to pour it on. I'm going to say 69-21.
Okay. I like that. And Ryan Day said he's going to try to hang 100 on years ago.
Let's aim for the moon, baby.
I hope we have 67 too, and they're like, we're going for 2.
Dude. Yes. The dude, Woody Hayes,
Shout out.
Yeah.
There was a year, what was like 2018? I think they were up. I think they won 62 to like 38. It was like a weird score.
Yeah.
But they were like kneeled it at like the 5-yard line. Like, no,
go.
Score.
Do it.
And then go for 2.
Miller Lite Mauler, do you have a prediction?
I'm I mean, obviously, I'm going with Ohio State. I'm not going to bet on Michigan to cover or anything goofy like that. I'm just going to be a fan the entire time.
Yeah.
But
you don't have the insurance bets, and no, like, well, in case of emergency, I get some money. My kids' Christmases are banking on Michigan right now.
Dude, I can't wait for you to explain to why they have no presents.
I think I have no idea, but I do.
Just so
I say my kids,
like, hey, Ohio State won. That's your Christmas
that's
present.
Christmas. Yeah, there.
We all had a good Christmas.
And then if they lose, they're like, I'm mad. You're still not getting it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm spending this all on alcohol and therapy.
But I'm going to say 34-10 just because kind of like I don't follow Michigan too much. And like I said, I don't really follow even college as much as I used to. But I just think in college, if you can't throw the ball and you have a defense as good as Ohio State's is, you're eventually going to have to get into situations where it's going to be 3rd and long and you have to make those plays. And I just don't believe Michigan can do enough offensively for them to really threaten Ohio State while we're playing at home. And we have like fucking 3 years of pent up aggression.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's the big one.
Yeah.
Because I could take them lightly.
We had a bunch of people who could have like went to the NFL and been like top 100 picks. And they came back. And this is part of the reason why they want to win the next championship and they want to beat Michigan. So I think, but with all that going on, there's no way they're coming out flat. And I just think they're just immediately going to, try to bury them as soon as they come out.
I love that.
That's what I'm hoping
for. It's the game. And so excited to see it. I hope to be intoxicated by the time it starts. So,
all right, that's it, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Go Buckeyes. If you're a Michigan fan watching this, I don't know why.
But good luck.
See ya.
Give a damn for the whole